Okay, well, welcome back. What I'm going to do is share my screen with you and let's talk about the process from start to finish of adding new content. And I'm going to focus on the content being a conversion of a document, which means I need to go back a bit. I need to talk about how documents work within the context of you as a web author putting them online. So let's just go through the basics, okay? The way that you would make sure that a document is available in this version has changed. Let me show you how it's changed. What I will do is I'm going to go to the media section, which is where all the documents and the images sit, and I'm going to take you through the process of making sure that there's a document available to me to link to and there's an image available for me to link to. As you can see, under the media section is divided into folders. Some of those folders will be standard and everyone has access to them, like the logo section. We now have a dedicated section that will store all of the partner logos that you may need to use, and this is where we will collect them all up. So if you have one to add, it goes in the logos folder. So what I'm going to do to demo this is going to add one, and what I do is I head to the create button. I'm going to click onto create and I'm going to go to image because I'm now adding a logo. No surprises there. What I then need to do is name it. I have got an East Sussex Pension Fund logo that I'm adding to the mix. So I give it the name, just descriptive, and then at this point it's where we upload the image. So when I click onto upload, it's going to take me to my file system, and that's where I just select the image that I want to store. There it is, nothing fancy, except it is fancy because it gives you all these different variants of the image that you can use, and that's just done for you. I can't stop yet though. I cannot go without adding alternative text. Otherwise I'm placing barriers to any of my users who are benefiting from assistive technology. And so that is literally where I describe any information that is locked into that image. What are my visual users getting that my non-visual users will not be getting? And that's simply East Sussex Pension Fund. I don't have to add the term logo. I don't need to be too descriptive over what that file is. It doesn't need to say green. It just needs to give the same information that our visual users are getting. So there it is. Once I have done that, I can click on to save, and it's now stored in that logos section. If I head on over to the left hand side, as you scroll down that folder, they're all listed for you, all there, and there's my new East Sussex Pension Fund one. So I head on back to the folder, I see them all. If I want to focus in on one particular image or get information about it, just click on it on the left hand side to be taken to that details page where you can see alternative text. Everything has to have alternative text. I'll say it again, everything has to have alternative text. Otherwise, how are all of our users, regardless of accessibility requirements, how they're going to get there? So there we go, Adoption Southeast. That's what my visual users are getting. So my non-visual users will get the same. Save them there. All right, next bit then. I'm going to go into my Philippa Perryman trainer area. In that folder, I have two folders, one for images and one for documents. We're going to keep this folder structure. Please don't add in any more complex folder structures. You're just going to give yourself a hard time. Images go in images, documents in documents. Let's do the images thing again then. Opening up that images folder, as you can see, I have to click onto the name. I'm going to do that again. If I click onto here, not a lot happens, but if I click onto the name of the folder, I navigate into it. Thank you, Microsoft. Those are all my images. If I want to add in another one, create image, and then we're just doing the work of making sure that that image is prepped. So click to upload, go and find your image. I've got a strategic commissioning strategy image I'm going to add in there. Do you know what I'm going to call it? I'm going to call it the strategic commissioning strategy. No, can't be. It is, you know. It's a strategic strategy. Okay. And what I'm going to add to this instead is, because this is purely visual, I am going to use the word banner, and that's literally for you as web authors. I just want to indicate that this is the banner that goes alongside strategic commissioning strategy. But as far as my alternative text goes, I'll literally just give it the same name. If you want to, you can be even more descriptive in the alternative text. So I could choose Strategic Commissioning Strategy for East Sussex Libraries if I feel that that's offering my non-visual users more. It's giving them a better chance to understand what the purpose of that is. Either way, use all those skills that you get from the training that you've done before and add in alternative text. Click on to save, and that becomes part of the database of items that you can link to or use on your pages. All right, I'm going to do the same thing again, but let's talk about documents. Again, just going to repeat it. We go into the documents folder, but click on the banner. I'm just going to end up getting myself upset. It goes nowhere. So instead, I'm going to click on the name of the folder to navigate in. Once I've navigated in, it's the create button. Create file this time. We've got to give the file a name, but let me upload it first. So I have the PDF for the Library Strategic Commissioning Strategy. Open that one up, and now I have to give it a good name. No hyphens, no dates, no final, use this one, don't delete, none of that, just the name of the document. So this will be Strategic Commissioning Strategy. In the content of this strategy, I might put things like it's March 2021. I can put that in the information in there, but the document itself, I'm just going to give a clean title to. And then the most important thing about your document is its mandatory description field. Here's one I produced earlier for you. You can see an example. It's basically a sentence or two that describes the purpose of your document or summarises that document. So I've put a complete review of the East Sussex Library and Information Service, part of the wider Libraries Transformation Programme, designed to deliver a modern and sustainable library and information service for East Sussex. It could be shorter. It's just a description of that document, and it's so important that we do this method, otherwise we don't get an opportunity to add the mandatory description fields and we can lose sight of the alternative text. So it's very, very important that we go through that create button and upload our documents and resources first. So let's click on save for that one. Fantastic. And that will now be part of my documents list. There it is. Every single document for your department needs to have a good title and a description field. And let me show you why. I'm going to head on back to the content area. Let's actually get those resources on a page. What I'm going to do is open up a brand new, let's go for a content page. So, working with documents on a page. Very important that we don't offer our users up documents without context. We need context. So what I'm going to show you is that we will create a landing page for a document that gives it a summary, an executive summary, if you like, before they download it. Let me show you what that looks like before I even blow that out of the water and I say, you know what, you could just convert the document into a web page, but let me take it in stages. This one is going to be a page they land on that gives them a summary and then they can download the whole thing. So I click on to add content and I'm going to add a content box because that's my text box. And then in good old, here's one I created earlier fashion, I'm just going to take the executive summary section of the document and paste it in. It serves multiple purposes. So I'm copying that from the original PDF and then I'm pasting it in. Now be careful with your pastings. Do you see how that is not as I would have wished? It's not as great as I had hoped. Because I am copying and pasting from a document that has its own formatting. I've got broken lines. So you're going to need to do a job of taking it out of the PDF and putting it into Word or something first. I'm not going to spend your entire training session formatting this. I do this because it's really important where you copy and paste from. It will bring formatting over. So make sure it's nice and clean first. One of the ways that you can make it nice and clean is copy it into Notepad, which doesn't have any formatting in it. and then you can take it from Notepad into the web page. It's entirely up to you, but you'll find that things don't necessarily look as you want them to. My bullets here, I love a bullet, that's very disappointing. I will need to make sure that I actually copy and paste, not all in one go, but just section by section, so that it gets good clean text on the page. So I will need to do a real job, and I wouldn't do this necessarily in Umbraco. I would probably, yeah, see, I've got a lot of work to do. Wouldn't it be better if I just prepped it in Word first? Say, let's get rid of those terrible squares. It's not impossible, but you can see it's hard work. So that's the content of the summary of the document. It's really important that people get a sense of what that document is going to do for them. It's very long. You might want to seriously think about how much information that you provide, but as much as it needs. Let's just save that one for a second and preview it. So that would be a very long introduction to a document, even if I'm charitable and say I've gone and formatted all of that. It's very long. Let's go back. Now, so that we don't get confused by all that, I'm just going to take it out and have a shorter one. Next is to give people access to the document itself. So I click on add content, and within this add content I'm going to have myself a subheading, I think. And then it's going to be download full PDF strategy document, something like that. I'm adding in a heading just to give it white space and lighten the mental load. Let's add in another content box, and this is where I start using that macro button over here that I had told you about earlier. I go to insert macro, and then it says insert file download list. Totally different process for you here. So eyes in. So insert file download list gives you access to the files you've already uploaded. I'm going to click on the plus button. All I have to do is go and navigate to that folder that contains the documents that I want to link to. At this point, I find the document that I want to link to, and do you notice how I could select all of them if I wanted to? So this is a way of creating a link, not just to one document, but many if you want to. Let's not get ahead of myself. That's my strategic commissioning document. Click on to select and then submit. If I wanted to, I could keep on adding. Submit. And what that does is automatically generates the text I need. Let's have a look at it. There's my title, summary of the document, and then look how clean and lovely that is. I did all the work when I uploaded the document. That's the name of it. We see what type of document it is, and that's the description I provided for them as well. Pause for effect and slight drama. And so all I would ask is for us to really think about accessibility at the forefront of our minds. We don't just say, here's a list of documents, go for your life, do what you can. We give them context. Pop them on a page that just gives a nice summary so that people can pull out the key details of that document if they aren't able, through situation or through barriers, to download the document itself. There it is. Okay. Now, I'm going to blow that one out the water, because you know what? You could just say, why don't I not have a PDF? Just pop it in a web page, and all the beautiful accessible stuff that comes with this lovely design that the developers work so hard on will be done for you. So you can convert your PDFs into an HTML page using a special template that is now available to you, one of the best improvements of this version. And that is what I'm going to show you now. Let's save and publish. Beautiful. Let's come over here and create, down at the bottom, I don't know why I suddenly feel the need for a drum roll, but documents in accessible HTML is a template that allows you to have those complex navigation structures that you need for those long documents that you're working with. So exactly the same process as the other things that I've been showing you. Let's go ahead and just, in very basic terms, let's create this strategy document from a PDF into a web page. Now, bear in mind that I'm going to be setting up a few problems along the way so that we can solve them. Okay, the first thing is I've got to take the name of the document as its page. That's fine. Let's have a look and see how I feel about that. Back in I go. So the name of it's going to be East Sussex Libraries, The Way Forward. If I want a page alert, that's fine. I can have my page alert. I'm not going to. Let's not complicate matters at this stage. Then it's all about adding the content. When you click on to add content, you're dealing with items. PDFs are broken down into their sections, and in the template, they are called items. So now I go through section by section of my PDF document. The very first one I've got, going past the contents because that's created for me, is the foreword. Let's give Bill his moment to talk. So I'm going to put in that title in there. And this is where I can decide how the navigational structure works. I have no subsectioning. This is literally just the first section, so I don't worry about that. And then I have to add the content. Now, forgive me, because I'm only going to put in small amounts of the document so that the training session is not taken up with me adding content. But as you can see, you can have all of those content types. So you can now create a lot more interaction in terms of the content than you could in a PDF. Let's just go for content, just for content. Let's go ahead. What have you got to say for us? Let's just take paragraph number 1 at this stage. Goes without saying. Excellent. Now you can see I've walked into a couple of problems here because it's text that's formatted from a PDF. So do your prep work. Working from a PDF directly in here is not going to have those formatting sections as you want them to. But let's just go with what we've got. So now I'm going to collapse up that one item, and it takes on the first bit of text. And now I add in the next section. Okay, what's after my foreword? After my foreword, it is the executive summary. Fantastic. Let's do that then. Again, forgive me, I'm only going to take a small part of it just to show you how it works. So I add in the content, that's rich text, but be careful because titling goes up here. So let me just take that executive summary out, add it in there instead. And that's really important because it's going to use those titles to help you create the navigational structure. Save that again. Let's have a quick sneaky preview of it. So what happens then is that I get my navigation pane on the left hand side showing me every single section. There's my foreword, there's the executive summary, but in actual fact the PDF is stacked sections, so it rolls really nicely for mobiles and tablets and all of that stuff. It's a very fluid way of presenting information. I'm going to pause. Any questions? Any concerns? And then you just build. You literally just build it like Lego. Keep on adding content as you go. Let's do item number 3, which is introduction. Wonderful. But now we've got something a little bit more exciting. A picture. So let's add in the introduction. There we go. Again, I'm causing issues for myself if I don't take care of formatting. See, I've got a job ahead of me, but let's not worry about that too much. Now what I'm going to do is add in the image. If I click on add content and go to image, the content box will allow me to decide what the layout will be. Let's go full width to start with, so you can see the differences. Click on the plus sign. Automatically it will take me to the media section of the system. If I go into my images, I have to make sure that I have the image available. If I don't have the image available, I stop. I save my page and I go over to the media section and I add it. So close, save my page. Great. Let me just get rid of that for a second so that I can navigate away. Wonderful. I go to media. I find the section that I want to pop my new picture in. Create image. Let's go ahead and find it. I have Seaford Library. There we go. Give it a title. Alternative text. Seaford Public Library. Whatever it is that my visual users get. Sorry, my non-visual users will get. Let's go back to content. And there's my commissioning document page. Open up my introduction. Let's go back to that image. Add content image. Choose a format. And then my file is available to me. And I haven't had any problems with that, with missing the alternative text, because I've gone back into the media section. I've created the image, given it all the information it needs. I'm not going to find myself working against the accessibility guidelines. Okay, so save that. Let's go and have a look at it. So we've got forward, executive summary, introduction there, and I've got my image. So your PDF can still have your graphs and your maps and all your images, as long as you give them alternative text. And there's no reason for everything to be locked down in a PDF anymore. You can convert them using this template, the HTML template. Let's go back there a second. If I decide it needs a bit of work on it, let's say I want the image to be aligned through the text, I'm going to change it to the right, save and preview. All I want you to know is that you have options. Maybe I don't want my image down there. Maybe I want it above the introduction. Let's go back. You've got all the options in the world. You can change things around. I could start with the introduction, and within the content areas, I can move things around. Let's drag and a drop. Okay, save. Have a look at your results. Do you like it? Is it the best we can do for our users? Brill. In which case we're in. So what I'm going to ask you to do, and particularly for my viewers who are watching this as a video, is I greatly encourage you to do this as an exercise. You have access to the training site. Details are on the page that this video will be found. And you will also have a copy of an example PDF that you can go ahead in the training area and convert into an HTML page using the HTML template. And then for everyone here, if this is something that you have time to do today, you can get your practice in immediately, having watched this training video. No, having participated in this training video. And if you have any issues, I will send those documents through, and they'll be available to us in the chat. I shall add those in for you for the end of the session, and you can have a go. Any questions? Any thoughts on that process? Do you have a lot of PDFs that you can convert? Do you think that this is going to take up a bit of time? Have a look through your content, and all I'd say is prioritise the most used documents. So if you do have an awful lot of PDF content, don't panic. Just take it methodically from the ones that have the most access, people are using the most, and then work your way down to the list, as you go. Great. Okay, so let me just summarise a little bit. The navigation has changed. I don't think you'll have too many problems with that. It's a question of getting used to it. Play around. As soon as you get an opportunity to go and have a play, because experience is going to get you there. There are new features involved that will enhance the accessibility of our content, and that, generally speaking, is because the whole design has been put together to meet accessibility guidelines. So if you want to take full advantage of that, one way is to make sure that all your content is lifted out of formats that we have less control over and put into HTML or a web page. Look at your PDFs. See if you can convert them. But do bear in mind that if you are uploading documents and you are going to give access to them, then if I have a look here, as you're adding them to your content, be aware that there's a new process, and that is inserting a file download list. And that file download list could be one document, or it could be many documents in a row. I think it's worthwhile me just going through that process again. I click on the cross. I go and get all the documents that I want to have in my document download list. So let's say I want all of them now. I'm going to select them all. When you press select, it will generate that list for you in a nice, easy to access way. Preview that. Now I have a whole list of documents. Name, and description, name and description, but please give them context, give them a little information before they go in and decide whether they're going to download them or not. Good. What I think we should probably talk about now is a little bit more about your lives as web authors and kind of the admin around all of this. There's a couple of changes with regards to how your documents and your images and your pages will be managed long term. If I go up to the top left hand corner over here, there's a content button. It doesn't really look like a button, so don't be fooled, it is a button. If you click onto that content button, you will be taken to the content review screen. And the content review screen is going to be the replacement for those emails that you used to get. You know, the ones that tell you that your pages are expiring. You're not going to get those anymore. Instead, you have one dashboard that you can manage as web authors, and it will show really clearly. We've got some color coding in there for you. It will essentially say, these are the pages that you've got coming up, and they will expire soon. Red, they've pretty much expired or very close to expiring, so they should be your priority. Now, one thing that has changed, and you might be surprised by this, is the pages, when they expire, they don't come offline anymore. They will still stay live. So it's up to you to manage your content through the dashboard and make sure that that document is the most up to date as it can be. So the process would be, I go to my content review, I see that this page has expired. That's my prompt to go in and have a look at it if I'm its owner. And bear in mind, you might see other people's pages in this list as well, because we're managing them by department. So if it's your page, go on in, open it up. If you've any concerns about the fact that you need time over this, you know, just take your time to have a look through the content, open up the main content boxes, check that you're happy with it, and then it's a case of making sure that you save and publish. Notice, bottom right hand corner, this is not my job. I don't have a publish button. So I can save it, I can preview it, but what I can't do is publish it. I don't have those permissions. Just essentially be aware that you'll see what you have permissions for by the buttons at the bottom. So I can't review that one. It's not one of mine. I've looked at it. I can let the web author who's responsible for that page know that it has expired. Instead, I'm looking down. Here's one that I am responsible for. This one has expired. The responsible investment policy. Let's go and have a look at it. I'm looking at the documents. That's great. I think to myself, do you know what? I really should check this with the department, as I didn't write that content. So what I'll do is click on the arrow next to the Save and Publish button, and I'll go to Unpublish. That will remove its page and any child pages from the live site. So I'll unpublish that, giving me time to review the content, get everybody's involvement that needs to be done, and then make sure that I have got the best quality content going. Once I'm happy that that's done, it's simply a case of save and publish. Once you save and publish, that will be back into the process of expiry. So if I look at the, down at the bottom here, the next review date, that review date should always be in the future. It won't let you publish anything where the review date has passed. I'm going to say that actually August, no, I think it should be reviewed in September, and I can make my decision about review dates up to 6 months. I can pick a review date, but it can't be longer than 6 months. We have to review every 6 months. Save and publish. There we go. And in saving and publishing, it's now going to be out of my content list. It's all done. I don't have to worry. It will come back into the list when it's good and ready. Fantastic. Okay, any questions about the expiry of documents? They will not unpublish for you. That's a decision that you're going to make. And the expiry emails are not coming your way. Alexander, yes, share with me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, just a very quick question about unpublishing. When you do so, do you still have to go and manually remove any links to that page that exists on the website, or is that done automatically in any way, shape or form?
If you've got links that are going into that page, it's very important that you do exactly what you just said. you make sure that you are amending the content that looks into this page as well. When you unpublish it, it does not become available. It's not available. You absolutely will need to make sure that nothing's going to try and send people to that content while you're reviewing it. So you may need to amend a few pages and the links on that as well. You can, of course, not unpublish it. You could literally make your changes. They'll all see the old content. And then when you publish, it will override it and it becomes part of the version history. So you do not have to unpublish. It's just really if you feel like this shouldn't be in the public domain until I can work with it, we'll unpublish it. But yes, anything that links to it will become a broken link. Very valid point. Veronique, yes, you have a question for me.
Yeah, I just wanted to check because you've got quite a long list there. Is there a way you can filter the different sections so you only see the ones that are relevant to you, or do you have to basically go through all the headings?
You do go through all the headings. They will be, I have a huge long list as an example with our content, simply to be able to demo that to you. In actual fact, because your documents are, not your documents, because your web pages expiry dates are staggered, it will be a few departments that will have a very, very long list. What you'll find is that they are ordered for you. Just pay attention to the reds, to be honest. Pay attention to the reds to start with. Hopefully you won't have any reds. You'll probably find that most of them are green and you just have one or two ambers to deal with at a time.
Thank you.
But yes, I suppose in the demo here I do have quite a long list that I need to work with. Okay, good. So let's talk then about your templates. I'd like to show you your templates and see if you have any questions about them. I am going to preview this example page. So this is a very top level landing page. As you can see, it's really similar. They're not massively different. This one has navigation sections at the top. These are put in by the web team, so you don't even need to worry about those ones. But the landing page, you can have a landing page with descriptions. Let me show you this one. So you've got your little grey bars and then you have a paragraph underneath them. Please keep it short. Keep your description short because you can see if you have one long description, it will throw your whole page out. Try and keep similar sized description paragraphs as you go. Or you could have the landing page but without descriptions, in which case it's just going to be a series of buttons taking you to all your sub pages or pages that you are linking them to externally, for example. Going back then, you have a standard page. Be probably familiar with these, and the standard pages come with the related content on the right hand side that can be inherited if you're grouping together pages, so it can have one section for the entire group. But yes, headers, and then this one example is the download list that I showed you how to create. So headers, text, notice there are very few images going on. I mean, I don't want to upset anybody, but it's so fluid, it's so clean. We don't want to necessarily add images to a page that are unnecessary because it will add load time, it changes the layout, I'm preaching to the converted here, I know. So that's the standard page. Task page with an introduction, that's the text above the button. You don't have to have text anywhere except above the button, but if you wanted to, you can have a task page with extras text. There's a space for it, so you can go into further detail after the action. That's what your buttons are going to look like from now on. Then you've got a standard page to use as a PDF summary. So this one is essentially going to be a summary of what's a PDF used to be. So that's a little. And the great thing about these content sections is that for accessibility reasons, all of our pages can now be printed out to PDF. If you click print entire section, you'll see that that will then automatically format as an accessible PDF. It's a thing of beauty with all those downloads. So we really don't need those long PDFs. Save yourself the time, pop it into web pages instead. Okay, let's cancel that one. Head on back. And then you have a section. Okay, the section is very much like the intranet section for the web authors that are familiar with the intranet. This is for you to group together similar web pages. So if the content themes, if it's got a connection, you can use a section. It will create a group of them, which allows you to navigate quickly through the different pages with the navigation at the top. And the great thing is within a section, you can have any of these templates underneath it: tasks, standard topics. You could have an HTML accessible template being used, but they all get grouped together and that navigation is created for you. So that's the section template. Play around with that if you think it's going to be useful. And that compares to a guide. We previously have been using guides, and we're actually going to be phasing them out because very few of our content pieces are actually numbered processes, and we're going to be using the guide exclusively for things that happen in an ordered step basis. So the guide is very similar. You've been using it in previous versions before, but they are exclusively for stages of a process. Otherwise, use a section is more appropriate and easier for our users to understand how the content relates. But you've got the buttons that you used to have before. It's just been styled slightly differently. Okay, oh, sorry. And then you have a PDF page. This is how it should have looked. So this is what it would end up like. Here's my strategic commissioning strategy with every single section. Should I actually want to be able to create the accessible PDF, we just print to PDF. There you go, look at that. Marvellous, saving everybody time and letting us all get on with our lives. And it's really nice because you will find that all of this is indexed, and so your content that used to be buried down in PDFs will suddenly become open to all search engines. You know, you're going to get a wider audience for your content. It can only be a good thing. And then the last one is very specific templates, like a location page. A location page has a very specific purpose, and it's not going to there, so let me try another one. Location page. Within your templates, that's the overview paragraph. And then your opening hours, which you would pop in as a list. Typing is obviously a problem for me today. Oh, sorry, that's the supporting text. I've actually done that wrong. This would be the information about us. Sorry. And the content for the opening hours is there in the header. It's all done for you as a table. What have we got? Well, let's not open up that early. 9 until 4:30. Okay, let's see if we can save up to that point and just see how that's built. Oh, I don't have a preview generated of that. Not to worry. But the location template is available to you. And as you can see, the whole templating system is based on the idea that you will get content relevant boxes to fill out. You fill out those boxes and the web page will get produced for you at the end of it. So you've got facilities to add, photos to add, and you know what? Departments often have their own templates. Is anyone here who knows that they have custom templates or they work with templates that are particular to their content? They'll be available to you. You know that it's just the same. It's the same system in that sense. You will find whatever options you have are available to you on the ... next to your sections. So these are all the templates that I could use. When you go back in to the training site, when you have a moment and you start playing around and getting some hands-on experience, take a moment just to navigate through and look at the content boxes for each one of those templates, just so you're familiar with what you are able to add. Okay. Time for me to open that up for questions again. Oh, Jill, sorry, I just saw a question on the location page. So we're talking about the hours for bank holiday hours. Yes, let's have a look at the opening hours. You can add further content So I've got one set up here and I can have variant hours in the second section. Maybe that would be holidays, for example, or it could be, item 2 could be during title that would allow people to distinguish between the different opening hours. It's each section, one by one, has its own set of hours that you can show. Give me a thumbs up or a hand up, Jill, if that answers the question. Are you all right? Okay. And then, of course, you have your maps as well. And your Google Maps can be used to pinpoint where the location is. As it says, you can type in the name, the address, or a geolocation. So let's try Seaford Library. There we go. And then that will add that map to the content. Validation required. What have I got missing? Let's have a look. Need my description field. For me, today. Okay. So as you're going through, practice with the templates that you think you're going to use most. I can see it needs a name. Every single template will just give you boxes to fill out. Experiment with them. You'll find that most of them you're very, very used to. And as I said, concentrate on the, that has not generated either. Concentrate on the templates that you use most often at first, but then experiment out and try ones that you haven't been familiar with in the past. Okay, a couple of extra things, and then I will take questions. Thinking about your emails. When you're working with email addresses, let's pop that in my standard page. Let's go into the text. If I'm going to refer to somebody's email address, just type it as you normally would, all lowercase. Let's say that at East. Okay. And don't worry about any other words. You might have used other kind of email links before. There's a mail to option sometimes. You just literally need to type out lowercase the entire email address. Be careful not to give out personal email addresses if you can avoid it. But email addresses, just type out in full and you will see that it converts it automatically into a link. Now, hyperlinking works in exactly the same way as it used to. So when you go into the hyperlink button, the panel is exactly the same. External links go in the link URL box, as I mentioned earlier. Try and think of Umbraco 7 content, you know, our content that hasn't migrated yet. Think of those as external links. Navigate to the page on our site, copy the address and paste it in the URL link box with the link title. Any migrated content you could treat as an internal link. You'll open up the tree, navigate to what you want to link to, and away you go. As soon as you see that tick, that's what you're going to be linking to. And don't forget your descriptive link text. So if I'm going to be leading people to the accessibility statement, then that's exactly the text that I use for people to click onto. You've got to type the text first, open up the link, make sure that you navigate to where you want them to link to. And there it is. When you see the tick, submit, and that becomes a hyperlink. Any questions? Same methodology for that. Right, okay, let's save that. Close everything up for a second, make it all nice and clean. Let's go over to the top right hand corner. When you're all done, what you'll find is that you have a full history of everything that you've been doing, and then you can log out. So when I log on out, that will leave me back to the login screen, and then I can happily wander off and do the rest of my day's work. So let's get through that process right from the beginning. As web authors, you know you're responsible for web content. Some of that web content is currently in migration. It's been moved over to the new version. As soon as your information is migrated over, you'll be contacted by the web team, you'll be given the information that you need and a link to the live site. This is the training site for now. So whenever you get a moment after this session, head on over to the training site using the link either on the page of this video or in the chat that I have sent to you. You're going to log yourself in and automatically you'll be shown the content review screen. This is where you can now make sure that anything that has expired gets reviewed and you go into your publishing schedule. Or if as a web author you've been told, oh, there's a spelling error on the accessibility statement, you would navigate as you normally would using the tree on the left and find whatever it is that you want to make a change to. Select the web page on the left. It goes red now, by the way, just so you can see clearly where you are. And just remember that the content blocks have slightly changed. So instead of actually seeing all the content, you're going to need to open up these blocks in order to reach the text. You make your change wherever you like. The radio stations, there we go. Bearing in mind that if you have permissions to publish, you have your publish button. But if I've navigated to an area I don't have permissions, I just don't see the button. So I can click save and preview, but I cannot publish. Okay, close that down. Documents and images are dealt with slightly differently in that we need to go through the process of adding them to the media section first. So under media, navigate to the area that you want to add a document or an image to, open up the folder. Please don't add new folders in there. Let's keep this nice and clean. One for documents, one for images. And then it's the create button. Create, file, upload your file from your system, wherever it might be. Excellent. Give it a good name. And don't forget its description. This is a clear summary of the document and its key messages. You can save that and that document becomes available to any pages that you want to link it to. All right, so 10 minutes left to go of the session. What questions have you got for me? Anything at all that you want to address? Okay, very quickly then, I'm going to invite you to kind of feedback to me. How do you feel generally about this new system? How are you feeling about going back and working with migrated content in this new version of Umbraco? I can see a few nods. I can see a few nods. Good.
It seems right. It's always when you start doing it and then you get stuck and you think like, oh my, you know, it seems very easy when you're showing it.
Yes.
But we're actually doing it that you start getting into sort of that, you know, you can't remember or but we just have to try. You know, you mentioned the time scale and we'll get an email, etc. Do you know roughly over what period of time? Like, is it next month, next 6 months?
It all depends on the departments. So content is being migrated department by department. Libraries is all done and migrated, and that's now working nicely. And so I'm not, I don't have the information of the migration schedule, but that obviously you'll be contacted as soon as your content is ready and ready to edit.
Okay, thank you.
If you have any questions about that, do get in touch with the web team. They will be able to guide you much better on timescales. Brilliant. Okay, so yes, Jill, you have a question for me.
Yes, thank you. Do we still do the updates via Google Chrome? Is that
the best? You can update through Chrome, but the best browser for compatibility will be Edge. Do you have access to Edge?
Yes, I do, yeah.
Good, good. It will give you the best performance. What I will tell you is if you experience any issues with it in Chrome, then move over to Edge and notice if that has made a considerable improvement. But you should find that will work. It will continue to work. It's just not going to be the same level of performance, I'm afraid. And Sarah, you have a question for me.
Hi, yes, it's about widgets. So currently we have access to an Esquisse and a OneSpace widget. Are they still going to be there on the new Umbraco?
So anything that you had access to, you'll need to just discuss with your web team. So discuss with the web team what widgets are going to be migrated over and which aren't, because I know it gets very customized at this stage. People have had very specific content, but generally speaking, yes, it will have the same functionality.
Thank you.
It was a bit of a catch-all answer there. I was like, in most circumstances, yes, but do clarify with the web team. They are always better placed to answer these specific content queries. Brilliant. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to encourage you to use the rest of the session as a little bit of a time to play and to have a look at the training site. Let me just recap on access to that then. Do you all have the link that I sent through earlier? If you click onto that link, it will launch in your browser, and you're going to be using the username and password that I posted underneath that. Anyone who's following along on this as a recorded video, you'll find this content that you need to access the training site actually within the page. So username and password. Go ahead. Now's the time for you to just practice, practice, practice. If you have any PDFs that you want to try converting into content, go into this area here called the Web Author Practice Area. That's your play space. You can do whatever you like in there. You can build new pages, you can convert PDFs. That's for you to play around in. I'm afraid if you do create content anywhere else, it will just get reviewed and then we'll delete it so that I can carry on with the training. But the Web Author Practice Area is the space for you to go in, get your hands dirty and find out what it's actually like in the new environment, having seen this demo. Good. Okay. I hope this has been useful for you and that you feel confident that the system may have changed a little bit, but you have enough transferable skills that this is just going to be a small change for you to get used to the new screens, but otherwise all your skills that you have as web authors will come across. Perfect. All right, well, thank you very much for your attention and for feeding back to me and for engaging with me. I appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, you have my email address, so you can ask me directly. But I have to say, internally, it's the web team who are best placed to answer specific questions about your content and your role as a web author. But of course, you're more than welcome to come to me at any time. And it's been an absolute pleasure. I will finish recording now, and if you want to stay online and ask me specific questions off the recording, then let me know. So let's just stop that one right now. It's going to be a small change for you to get used to the new screens, but otherwise all your skills that you have as web authors will come across. Perfect. All right, well, thank you very much for your attention and for feeding back to me and for engaging with me. I appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, you have my email address, so you can ask me directly. But I have to say, internally, it's the web team who are best placed to answer specific questions about your content and your role as a web author. But of course, you're more than welcome to come to me at any time. And it's been an absolute pleasure. I will finish recording now, and if